Hey guys, welcome back to the 10-8 Fightcast. Trevor and Dylan here for a quick little episode today. We're going to be talking about the UFC coming up this weekend. I was listening to Jack Slack's podcast earlier, and he called this a card of low-key bangers. And
yes.
We were talking right before the show started, and you kind of agreed with that sentiment.
Yeah, I looked at it, and the more you kind of look at it, like I said, I don't feel like I follow the UFC as closely as you do, but I do. It's kind of like watching like other sports teams. Like I'll pick up like, oh, this sports team did this with this ball. Like I'll always remember if you get the finishes in fights, like your name does pop up a bit more.
Yeah.
And we're also talking about like that's why some fights fly under the radar for me. I kind of pay attention to who's out here finishing motherfuckers.
It's also the way you usually intake content that you miss live is you go back and watch the finishes.
Yeah, I'm just always watching the finishes.
That's how most people are.
I will, but and I'm guilty of it. I do sit back and if I hear a good comment like about someone's fight, like I hear if I see a comment online like so and so, like I saw these level changes in this fight, and I'm like, oh, I'll fucking check that out.
Yeah,
because it's the way they use that level change.
Like we were talking about last week with Angela Lee.
If you can't knock someone out, then you have to attack everywhere at once.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like that Angela Lee fight is a good one to go back and watch. Haven't watched it yet. It got a lot of other fight stuff. It's also,
but just what you read about it online makes you want to watch.
Having people fighting, you focus on them and local stuff more. But no, it's a lot of these names are people that pop up with,
Before the UFC talk gets started, speaking of UFC fighters, Aspen Ladd, obviously we didn't talk about her too much.
Is now going to the PFL.
She's going to the PFL and she's got her first fight. Did you hear?
No.
She's going to fight Julia Budd.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's actually a really cool women's matchup for right now, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good fight. Featherweight fight.
Featherweight fight, no. Do you think, didn't you say that Aspen's going to go up to 55? Is that what I don't think she's going to go to 55.
I think
she's going to stay with
I think it's the biggest
name.
Wait,
has she missed weight at 45?
She missed weight.
Oh, I thought it was 30.
I think it was her last fight at UFC,
I know she missed it at 35, right?
Oh, was that the last fight?
Maybe her last fight was missed at 45.
Let's look up her record real quick. Because I know she's obviously had trouble at flyweight. And so they moved her up once at to bantamweight. Mixed martial arts record. Oh, okay, so it was her return to bantamweight against in her last fight against Raquel. But she did fight Norma Dumont at featherweight in October of last year, and I feel like I remember her missing weight for that fight.
Wow.
I honestly feel like
I feel like she's one of those fighters like...
Because I remember when she missed weight this time, they were like, oh, it's the fucking third time in a row.
She's a good size for 45, but she's kind of undersized at 55.
Yeah.
But
Kayla's not a big 155er. She's like a girl who should probably be fighting at 45 and just doesn't want to cut weight because she doesn't really have to get fights.
I think that, she just also knows that she has such a physical advantage, like, ingrained from a lifetime of her training regimen is that of, like, a high-level wrestler.
Insane delts.
Insane, yeah. And I think that she's also kind of just like, yeah, I'll be smaller and faster, but still just as strong. Like, she's not stronger. She is just as strong, but she has such dominant technique that she is putting herself ahead, and she's not taking any damage.
I think that's the name, though. That's the name that.
So you think that the Aspen and the Kayla fight could be?
I'm not saying that Aspen Ladd's like the most popular women's fighter of all time by any means, but people have a name that people know.
Yeah,
like people.
Like this is someone if
she's got a very
she would be super
name.
legit.
One, she's got a very unique name.
Yeah.
And two, she's been around so long against good people that people are just going to hear that name and be like, yeah, she was in the UFC. Like, she's fought people that were good. So if Kayla runs through her and murks her, then like we have a better idea of where Kayla stands, at least in terms of the global scale of competition. Because I mean, obviously, I think that she's one of the best women's fighters on planet Earth. But if she were to walk into the UFC right now and was able to consistently make 45, there's only like 2 fights there. There's only 2 fights there, and one of them is Amanda Nunes. So it's like, there's not really a lot of wiggle room there. Mm-hmm. But her fighting someone like Aspen is like, okay, well, she's probably at least top 5.
It gives her some out of the UFC legitimacy that can make her an even bigger sign down the road.
It's the only fight for them to make for her, in my opinion. So Aspen, if she beats Julia, calls out Kayla.
I like that Aspen Ladd Julia Budd matchup. That's
I do too.
Fun one.
Should be fun. Julia's kind of old though, right?
I think she's about 40.
Yeah.
But when is that? Because she's been having a little run in Bellator.
She was in Bellator. I think she actually signed with PFL for her last fight. Let's see. The Jewel. That's a great nickname. I guess when she made it, there was probably before Jewel Pins came out, so people didn't make jokes like that at her. Of course, every time I sit in this chair, my internet on my phone sucks. Yes, so she had a fight at PFL against Gina Fabian May 6th of this year and lost, but she's won her first fight with PFL, which was around this time last year.
Wow.
Then she had 2 Bellator wins on her way out after her loss to Cyborg.
That's right. Yeah, I remember those 2 wins after.
So, I mean, she's got like a winning record, and she's 39, by the way. 39. Her record is 16-4, which is a better record than I would think she had, right?
It's a really good record.
She fought Ronda, right? Did she fight Ronda? No. I'm thinking of somebody else. I think she... Yeah, she fought Ronda very early on in Strikeforce.
Ah, wow.
I remember this fight because it was on my birthday in 2011.
Nice.
It was before I started watching MMA, but all of my friends were with me at a bar, and this fight was on. There were so many people there to watch it. Like, so many people.
The Ronda effect was real.
That was when I first heard her name. That was when I first heard her name was 2011. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, interesting fight that bars for the future of women's MMA. Mm-hmm. Now on to the UFC. So like we were saying, there are some names on here that we haven't seen in a while, and there are obviously some interesting matchups.
The Mike Jackson fight. What the fuck? I keep thinking that's a joke. Like
back.
There's a glitch in the UFC game.
The
and
People's
this pops
Champ.
up.
Yeah, I think that they've just had a very hard time with him. Obviously, they have to fulfill a 4-fight contract for him.
He's a full-time photographer. He's a full-time fight
but
photographer.
He has a fight contract. So if he asks for a fight, they're obligated contractually to find one for him, or they have to release him, and then he'll definitely start fighting somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they're not just going to leave free money on the table. So they're going to make him fight it out.
Yeah.
However, they must like him, because this time they actually gave him a matchup that I think is a lot more doable for him. You know, the last guy they had him against with was just way overmatched.
Yeah, Mike Jackson.
It was Mickey Gall, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't Mickey Gall his last fight. Like
Mike Jackson.
He beat CM Punk, and then he fought Mickey Gall. And then he had a no contest.
He had a no contest. Yeah. And like my buddy Marcel Mickens, who used to fight around here, he's the same gym as Mike Jackson. He's like, man, that guy is like, you just see his 1-1 record, and he's got a lot of fucking dog to him. Like, he's very highly respected at the gym he's at for like his ability to actually fight. Like he's a very committed martial artist, but I think that he's also kind of enjoying the name he got from the UFC as being a photographer at the same time. So he's kind of like, I'll just fight whenever I want to.
Well, it's just like, fighting is great.
When you have your first fight in the UFC, you can automatically always still be the guy that fought in the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very rare company he finds himself in, along with his rival CM Punk and
Matt Riddle,
Brock Lesnar. Matt Riddle.
No, Brock Lesnar made his debut outside the UFC. Remember, he
had one fight.
Yeah, he had to have that one fight. That was the stipulation.
Yeah. Yes.
From like all the heavyweights in the UFC going, no, fuck that. He has to fight outside the UFC before he fights us.
Man, do you know anything about Matt Riddle now?
He's the WWE like heavyweight champion or some shit.
I mean, he is like over. Like in wrestling terms, he's very popular.
Yes, he's a super. It's been cool to watch because he's someone I did like. He's like for like a young person be that talented to make their debut in the UFC from the Ultimate Fighter. Like, it's a cool story.
He beat John Jones twice
in wrestling. Yeah. Yes, I've heard about that. I forget. I didn't realize he was older than me. I was like,
aging well.
Aging very well.
Yeah.
And we all saw his rise through, if you follow on social media, like grassroots wrestling to AEW to WWE. And like the bro has done it. The king of the bros has done it.
And he's in there barefoot.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest part.
That's awesome.
The craziest fucking part for me is he's doing this shit barefoot. Yeah. But yeah, I was watching the highlights from Extreme Rules. They had a match where, do you know who Seth Rollins is? He's a extremely popular WWE guy. He's been at the top of WWE since like the John Cena era kind of ended. Like 10 years ago. It's been him as like kind of the main guy. I would say that if I were to compare him to like a an old school wrestler that we would both know, I would say he's kind of the modern Shawn Michaels in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But he's a great heel. He's a great bad guy. And Riddle is like, since he's come into the UFC, they've never dreamed of making him a bad guy because he's so over with the fans, right?
Yeah.
So him and Seth Rollins had this Extreme Rules match.
Is that the thing that Daniel Cormier
and
was
he was the ref?
Yeah,
Cormier was the ref. Cormier had to like hold up Seth by his neck at one point. It was so funny. I mean, it is hilarious. I watched this because Ronda was on and had a big match, and DC was doing this special ref thing, and I don't watch wrestling, but I wanted to watch the highlights of both of their
I want to go
matches.
back to some more like wrestling shows that Bobby does. Those are such a blast. Like I don't know if I'd enjoy a WWE as much as I enjoyed like what I saw going to Bobby. Like other ones I've gone to like that.
Me, you, and Bobby though. If we don't like Me, You, and Bobby, if he's not going to be on like a show that's like
an AEW or something.
I would say Big Time Wrestling is really fun. They come to Raleigh all the time, and they have like guys that are kind of like at the level above Bobby but below the WWE.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the mid-level, right? And then if Raw or SmackDown or something came to the
Bobby's
PNC,
far off from some of those because like
either.
everywhere he goes since his first wrestling match, he's always had a crowd.
Well,
and he makes people, and like this is like it was like cool to hear the rumblings around like the show when I went there, and they were like I would just walk around, like they saw me talking to Bobby, and everyone was like, "How do you know Bobby?" And I was like, "I'm his old Muay Thai buddy. Like, what's up?" And they're like, "Man, yeah, he's got something special. Like, he always has a crowd, and like people come back to see him. If people hadn't seen Bobby before, they're like, man, who the fuck is this guy throwing flying elbows like this?
He's got a unique look.
His performance is
gimmick.
Like and it's the like he says it's a gimmick, but it's also
but that's like a pro wrestling term.
I know, and like I hate the term gimmick for Bobby because it's so fucking authentic.
Well, if you want to
that's
use
the crazy thing. Like where wrestling is like I see dudes that come out dressed up as fucking potatoes for God's sakes. Like that's some shit I would do. I'd be like the pugilistic potato or some shit. Like that's not far off from how I really am technically. But Bobby is very authentic. Like he has that wild mosh pit energy, and he brings that with Muay Thai technique. And it's just, and if you know Bobby, he's very quiet. But this performance on stage, I'm like, oh fuck, that's Bobby, like through and through. Yeah. Like it is. You see other people really struggle to have that much authenticity in wrestling. I think.
I was gonna
like
say
The Rock. Like okay, I don't think Bobby will be The Rock. You know, I speak very highly of Bobby. I can see him going to AEW. We can see him doing some WWE shit. Like The Rock is also a very genuine example of like a larger than life persona in something.
Yeah,
and like Bobby brings a lot to pro wrestling, and it's like. You hear people in the community go, "Yo, it's badass." Like you don't hear people in the fight community hating on it.
Oh,
that he's using Muay Thai because even like Muay Thai people are like, "Man, fuck, that's not wrong." I'm like, "Yo, that's a legit roundhouse."
Here's the thing about wrestling for me: MMA fans love to talk shit about wrestling, but people who train and fight MMA. They love that shit. Yeah, they respect it, or they're just outright fans.
I've always respected the physicality, but to me, I've seen the fanness of it more ridiculous than it itself. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of see it as like okay, like
well, that's why it's because now everyone's in on it.
Seeing Bobby do it, he explained a bit to me of like how like it evolved from like that catch can style, where it's like. Oh, it is kind of a back and forth still. Mm-hmm. Like it's cool to see when he broke down that the improvising of it. I was blown away, and I totally understood it in a whole new fashion. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, this is a more fucked up, crazy version of our tit for tat drilling for Muay Thai, where we work active defense, active offense, but you guys are fucking throwing each other on your necks, and it blew me away. And when he explained that, I was like, I'm a huger fan of it now. I still don't look up to like the big wrestling kind of stuff, but I admire the fuck out of like watching these new guys like develop the craft. Like I'm watching all the videos of it now, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like
that makes a lot of sense. It's different being there too.
Yeah.
You get kind of caught up in the illusion being there.
Yeah. I had earplugs in, like sunglasses on, earmuffs, and I was just like, this is rad.
If you're looking for a way to compliment Bobby without using the word gimmick, you can say that he is a good worker. That's a pro wrestling term.
And if you've ever been in the gym with him, he is a hard motherfucking worker. Like, he's a machine.
And he's a classic, what they call, shoot fighter in the pro wrestling business.
He's been doing some, like, legit, like, pancrase matches now, pretty much.
I think Bobby definitely has a fucking very memorable look.
He looks like a fucking serial killer.
And he looks like he would fuck you up in a fight. Like
and he's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, for sure. He is for sure the nicest guy in the world, but he just like has this look that complements his gimmick so well, and I think that honestly his gimmick is too real for a bigger organization, and they would probably
He looks like a white anime character.
Like I could see him.
He looks like a character from Baki the Grappler.
I could see him getting pulled to a bigger org,
Sagat.
like a bigger org, and then being like, we're gonna rework you into like an Agent 47 type of guy.
I could see that.
Like instead of being
because I think that's like too quiet.
Like
Bobby when he cuts those promo reels, I'm like, man, I like this a lot.
Yeah, I've watched a few of his promos.
I dig it. I dig this a ton. Like the energy. I feel like the Hitman 47 is like too quiet.
I mean,
I think like what Bobby's got going on, he can keep running with, man.
There's just nothing like that at the big level, so it would be really cool to see it because there hasn't been a guy like that in a long time, and I can even see him in there, no shoes on.
100%.
Like just heavy foot wraps or like Lathway.
I think it's dope as shit to see the Muay Thai shorts and like wrestling boots. I think it's rad.
He should find a way to get like some Lathway looking rope wrap for his hands because I think that would be super.
Oh, we
sick
could
looking.
Totally do that. I should message him right now.
You should just be like, "Yo, I'll wrap them."
I'm gonna message him right now. I'm like, "Yo, you want to do rope wraps on your hands?"
Just for like a big match,
Yeah.
He can come out with the full fucking Sagat look. Like, Muay Thai shorts with the knee wraps, the foot wraps, the ropes on the hands.
Oh, that would
like
just make him look like, dude, that makes him look like a Baki the Grappler character.
That's what you just, go double down on that. Alas, onto the UFC.
I blacked out. What happened?
It's okay. We got Bobby texted.
So we talked about Mike Jackson, and then I was starting to text Bobby about, hey, do you want to do traditional tie wraps on your hands
and we just went on a rabbit hole about pro wrestling for half the episode, but it's okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the 10-8 Fightcast.
Welcome to the part 2 of the 10-8 Fightcast, where we're actually going to talk about fighting this time. Outside of this, on this early prelims, let's see here. Nick Maximoff, he's that Nate Diaz protege guy who they say can bang, but it's been kind of boring.
Man, it's kind of tough. Like,
it's kind of tough, right?
It's kind of fight like a Diaz if you're not a Diaz.
Rafael Sunsao taking down Victor Henry. Victor Henry just looks crazy in his UFC picture.
I thought that was Saeed for a second.
I thought it was Saeed.
Yeah, did you?
I was going to make a joke about how that's definitely Saeed. But yeah, Rafael Sunsao been knocked out twice in his last 2. You got to think in this one he's got lots to prove to himself and to us.
Yeah,
if he can still take a punch.
Dude, I like watching. I've always enjoyed watching Rafael Sunsao fight, man. He's been a dope representative of like the Southeast fight scene, coming from Manu's gym out of Atlanta for a long time, and he's always had solid technique, solid forward pressure. Like one of those guys, like kind of very by the book. Like he does so many things right that he would create an opening, which does get tougher to do the older you get in a division. Like this bantamweight division is getting. They're all just fucking such serial killers now. Like you kind of hard to do that.
One of the most unforgiving divisions, and also a very risk-averse fighter.
Yes,
very risk-averse, and will definitely take a lackluster win by split decision over like trying to dive on something any day of the week.
Yeah,
and I think that has cost him in his career against guys like Cody Garbrandt who are all gas.
Yes,
because I mean he lost to post TJ Cody Garbrandt, which not a lot of people have lost to.
Yeah,
and I think it really had to do with the fact that like Cody is an agent of chaos. Like and the more chaotic a fight is, the more chances he's going to have to implement his will and land big. And it's really only backfired on him really bad once.
What do you know about Victor Henry?
Not much. I think he has one UFC fight before this.
Oh, okay. So that's why I don't know shit about
Raoni Barcelos, he beat by decision earlier this year. I think he is not American. He looks very much like Lurch, sort of.
He does.
His nickname is La Mangosta.
Whew! I don't know what that sounds what that is, but
I don't know what
he
that
looks like a La
to.
Mangosta.
Yeah,
like,
he looks like Saeed on HGH.
Yeah, he looks like prehistoric Saeed.
Yeah, so only 5 losses and lots of submissions on his record. He's got a reverse triangle choke, which is very hard to pull off. Whoa, he's got 2 of those. He's got 2 reverse triangle. He's got a win by front kick to the liver. Yeah, he's a beast, and
how old is he?
He's 35.
Okay, quite the age advantage compared to the 40-year-old Rafael Assunção.
Yeah.
So this could be a good showcase for Victor Henry to make someone else look good in the next fight.
Yeah, and they bring in guys like this all the time.
Oh,
you know, he's got one fight in the UFC. He won by decision, so they're definitely going to have him back.
Yeah.
And Assunção's a good test for anyone in this division because he used to be...
I mean, you'll see, like, the UFC is so international. Like, they pick up new talent every time they go out of the nation, and he just got picked up by...
He used to be a perennial contender in the bantamweight division, like always in the top 10 to top 4.
Yeah, Rafael's always been around the top. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a big name to have on your record, even after 2 KOs. And if you can put him 3 KOs out,
or you get a submission over him, like that's bigger.
It seems like this guy's a big submission.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be very impressed if Victor Henry submits Rafael Assunção, but I feel like that could be what we see here.
I'm bummed about Magny versus D-Rod getting canceled.
Dude, right?
That was going to be a good fight.
That was going to be a banger.
Because Magny has traditionally struggled with people who apply pressure big time.
Yep.
And D-Rod is a big pressure gamer, but he also doesn't have like amazing grappling, which Magny is a beast of a grappler. So I thought that was a very close and interesting fight, especially where both guys are right now. But anyway, maybe we'll see it down the road. Misha Serkinov taking on Alonzo Manafield.
Oh, we got Brandon motherfucking Davis.
Oh, I didn't even see that, but you're absolutely right.
Did you not? Did you miss that, dude?
Martinez versus Brandon Davis.
That's a great
is headlining the preliminary card, and that's a potential fight of the night.
That is,
because both those guys really fucking can scrap.
Fight their dicks off.
Yeah. Mana's last fight was great. He's still pretty young. I think he's only 25. Yeah.
I know Davis is a little bit older, 32. Yeah, 26, 32. But no, Brandon Davis just fights like an absolute dog. I love watching him fight. Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Like, he kind of looks at the textbook of fighting and he goes, yeah, you're right. I'll just punch my way through everything. And it's fucking great to watch guys fight like that. I love it.
Mana's on that James Krause fight team.
Yep.
So you know what?
Kind of tailor-made to fight guys like Brandon Davis.
I would say so.
I would say so. Very technical, savvy fighters out of Krause's gym.
Very, very heavy on counter-striking, but not always walking backwards. Like,
they
I find that his fighters,
I
find his fighters are very good at stepping off to angles.
They do a good job of understanding that getting from A to B, there's A1, A2, A3, and then B. And that's how you see them step with their strikes to angles. Yeah, they step off like
squares.
Yeah, I talked about. Well, I know it's you have that sim square in front of you when you're controlling, like when you want to stay in front of someone, then you let your foot move inside that box. But when you want to move around someone, you kind of see it's a half circle around.
Right.
So it's not so much that square. It's I got to turn this half circle into 3 steps. And how do I try to like make it as smooth as possible? Like, it'll be a kind of jagged pattern around, but they do a good job of not being impatient. Like, they don't try to jump ahead. They work ahead. And sometimes it might be like, okay, we got to hold on to A1 for a couple strikes. Boom, boom. Now we're at A2. We're going to work out of this for a bit. Boom, boom. A3, cool. I'm at B. Sit here. Pull him into something. Like, it's just, to me, it's kind of like the meta of modern day like MMA, of knowing how to control like that octagon pattern
for striking,
for striking on the feet, making angles, staying away from bad clinch options, staying
away from a straight on shot.
You're seeing it in the ONE FC when we're talking about Anissa Mickinson cutting angles around in her Muay Thai fight with Dutch angles. You're seeing them apply that a lot in like the octagon. And Krause has always been a slick motherfucker. I loved watching James Krause fight now that he's retired. But you'll see like that meta of his footwork patterns.
He's a good coach too.
He's a phenomenal coach. He's got a lot of on-the-job experience, as you could say. And anyone from that gym is fun to watch.
I agree.
And so this kind of fight, like this is going to be Brandon's going to be on Mana the whole time, and we're going to see Mana moving the whole time.
Yeah.
Until it's over. Yeah.
I think it's
into the bell or in a finish.
Potential fight of the night for sure.
100. Yeah. Brandon Davis is the future Matt Brown of bantamweights.
The guy who's gonna like test you with a real fight.
It's a real fight.
Yeah,
like
you're gonna be in a fucking scrap.
Yep. His commentary fighting Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, that karate shit doesn't work on me, and he beat the brakes off of Wonderboy. I was like, man, I love Wonderboy, but I loved Matt Brown more in that fight for saying that. I was like, fuck, reminds me a lot of Brandon Davis. But now on to Misha and Alonzo. That's a fucking awesome little matchup.
Alonzo Manafield is very fun to watch.
Yeah,
I think
like a little nuclear warhead on legs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think Misha Surkanov is kind of like coming past his athletic prime.
Agreed. Yeah, he's had a long tenure at light heavyweight.
He has. You know? Like he's one of those names who's been around for
It's
a
weird
long,
because
long
they're like only a year shy of each other in age, but you would assume that Misha
is way older. His name has always been around for so long.
We've been exposed to him for a lot longer, right?
Yeah, one of like the original big guys out of Team Alpha Male.
Yeah, Alonzo Manifield literally looks like if Joaquin Buckley was a Looney Tune and he could do that thing where he
got them mixed up for a little while. Like when I saw, I was like, when did Alonzo cut down a weight class? Like, I've literally thought that of Joaquin Buckley before. I was like, when the fuck did Alonzo cut down? I was like, oh, that's someone else. Like I've literally thought that.
If Joaquin Buckley could pump himself up with an air pump like in Looney Tunes, then that's what he would look like. Yeah. You know?
Alonzo Manifield, he's always fun to watch. Always has good balance range, but deceptively long arms.
Cirque's a great grappler.
Phenomenal grappler. He's also really good at getting punched in the face.
100%. Yeah. But nothing tires out boys that are built like Alonzo. Quite like
we've seen his gas tank get shut down in fights before.
And so we know what Cirque has to do, but we also know
what
Alonzo is capable of.
That other people have tried it and fucking failed.
Yeah, Alonzo by vicious uppercut, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Wright versus Dusko Todorovic. I honestly thought Jordan Wright had already been cut from the UFC.
Same.
I thought he was kind of like the next big thing at middleweight for like a week, and then he lost 2 in a row. And let's see what his record is right now. He's 31.
He's 12-3.
That's not a bad record.
That's not bad.
I think it's who he lost to. I think it's who he lost to.
Well, he got into the UFC from the Contender Series, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think they're going to try and milk him for a couple more fights.
Well, yeah, of course.
But you're having him fight Dusko Todorovic. Solid guy. Who did he fight last? I know his last fight feels fairly recent.
So Bruno Silva and Marc-Andre Baralut is who Jordan lost to 2 in a row. Yeah. That's after he KO'd Jamie. And after he lost to Joaquin. Joaquin fucked him up, though.
Yeah, bad.
That was a beatdown of all beatdowns.
That was a fucking statement. That was a rough one.
That was kind of Joaquin, like, really...
That was a good coming out party for him.
What, didn't he had already KO'd Impa, right? And then at that point?
And then he lost after the Impa fight.
I think so. And then Yeah, he got KO'd by Alessio Chirico, who's now retired as well. Chidi was the last fight that Dusko had.
That's right.
He lost via elbow.
Yep.
And then he also lost to Maki. Maki's really good too.
Yeah, so this is kind of like probably a loser walks fight.
Could potentially be. I mean, I honestly thought Jordan's record was worse than his. I think that, you know what,
Dusko kind of like sits pretty even. Jordan Wright's pretty good at trying to set up like little karate blitzes in and out.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of those fights that like Jordan Wright, if he wants to stay in the UFC, he has to finish this guy.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that this is the right fight to make to keep Jordan in the UFC. The 2 fights for the main event are fucking awesome matches.
Royval's fighting too.
And Askarov coming off of his first loss.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this is
that's a tough fight for both guys.
Tough fight for both guys. But you can expect these 2 guys are going to fight to keep their names in the top of the division.
I agree.
And I think that they are going to look like little Dragon Ball Z characters.
This is a classic UFC matchup of like 2 guys that are definitely would-be champs in any other organization, but they're just like just fighting to stay relevant.
Yes.
In the UFC, you know? And this is a best of the best type of fight for sure. And you got to think Askar, right?
Man, like, so I
his first name is almost his last name, and you know my rule about guys like that. And also guys whose last name ends with V.
They're going to wrestle fuck you.
Yeah, I have a rule about guys whose last name ends with Av, and also guys who have the same first name and last name.
He has phenomenal wrestling. Brandon Royval, great striking. He moves his head offline a little bit more. Askar tends to leave his head in one spot because he looks for that takedown a little bit too much. And at flyweight, like, you cannot play that risk with that lack of head movement. Mm-hmm. Guys like Royval are so fast; they're dogs. We saw that with Askarov, like he got tagged in that last fight. I can't remember who he fought last, but I remember seeing him get hit and stunned. And he was like, "What the fuck?" Because then the guy was just back on him, like, "Why don't?"
Was it Matt
Schnell?
Did they have that really bloody fight, or was that a different guy?
I think that was. No, Schnell didn't beat Askar. I think Askar.
No, I was talking about Royval.
Oh, Royval and Schnell had a really
they had a great fight. Yeah, I thought we were talking about Royval.
No, I was talking about Askar, where
he got clipped.
He got clipped, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah.
And you see him like freeze. Where Royval, if you touch his chin, he touches you 3 or 4 times.
Well, you've seen it in the gym. There are guys who are just like world champions when everything goes their way, and then when they come up against adversity, they suddenly are like. No.
That's when Askar is comfortable just setting the pace of wrestling. Yeah. He just. If he decides to play,
he has to though.
He has to.
He has to.
He has to. Yeah. He has to just focus on wrestling. Use your head movement for injuries and not so much punches. Like you kind of have to get comfortable with like what your strength is in which area. And I think Askar is having a hard time now, going like, shit, what do I have to do again to be here at the top? So if he second guesses himself in this fight, but like, of course, we said that about fucking anything. But
I'd love to see either of these guys versus.
I would love to see either of these guys win.
And go against Moreno or Figueiredo.
I feel like if Askar wins, it's a wrestling dominant unanimous decision. Royval wins, it's going to be a stoppage coming back from like a clip from getting back to the feet. Like you're going to see if he can break off from a shot or break off the cage and get Askar to sit still.
Do you think
it could end? But
do you think the co-main event is a retirement fight for Cub?
I think people have been talking about that. I thought he had actually already retired, to be honest.
It's been a while since we've seen him.
Yeah.
And this feels right. This feels like the right opponent. This feels like the condition for Cub to pick up a win and walk away. And I think that would probably be best.
Yes.
Because there are very few guys that have as many UFC fights under their belt and have the kind of cult following that Cub has,
right,
and name recognition and availability, but also there's very few guys that the UFC goes to bat for.
And one of them is Cub.
Yeah, they have taken good care of him. If you ever have seen his disclosed payouts for a guy whose best years were long behind him when he had one of the best fights of all time against Doo Ho Choi, he was very
it's
well
in like the Hall of Fame now for fights.
He's already a Hall of Famer. Technically, because of his fight. And no doubt, I think he will be one of those guys who is remembered always as one of the best to never win a title.
Yes.
I would think that, in my opinion, I'm going to go with, if only the UFC title counts, I'm going to go with Faber as the best to never win a title. But I would say that this guy is not far behind.
Yeah.
A large reason why Faber wins out over him is because they were in the same division.
Yeah. And this is
he beat Darren Elkins in
the last fight. I saw that,
yeah.
But
that was almost a year ago.
Looking at Martinez, man, like he's a pretty well-rounded guy. He has a lot of good. He either has decisions or he has knockouts, and I think that this is. I don't think that man. If Cub can make this guy just fuck up,
Cub's 38.
He's 38.
Cub's 38.
This guy is 28.
And Cub's. Never been known for his power or his toughness, but never been known for his power, more so his toughness.
Yeah.
And toughness is usually the first thing to go.
Yes.
It's usually the first thing to go.
I would love it if Cub comes out and just like out techniques this kid. He's gonna have to like
one-sided boxing, jabbing.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I think if Cub tries to like really fight this kid, then Jonathan Martinez will out technique him, not to a finish, but to a decision. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think if Cub shows his, like, this could be one of those fights where he really has to show his veteran savviness just to fucking... I think he knows that he has to go into this knowing that he has to win on the judges' scorecards.
Mm.
He probably can't finish this kid. If he does, I'll lose my fucking mind. Because that's like,
I see it
every
as
time
like
Cub wins, it's always a great fucking
I definitely see it as like a overwhelming, like, volume kind of finish. If it, like, I don't really picture him flatlining the guy, but I do picture him being able to hurt him and then,
just
like finish
this
him
guy's
against
face,
the fence.
We could see his face just get progressively more and more
He's good at cutting people. He's good at really sending home jabs to the eye and puffing the eyes up. And I mean, there's a reason why he's got a reputation for being a violent guy. Most people don't look the same post-fight. Main event, Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Araujo. This is a good fight between two of the best female fighters in this division. Alexa Grasso has I guess I would say under-delivered on the hype that she had coming with her when she came into the UFC, but I think now she's turning a corner where she's improving again.
Well, I mean, her last loss was to Carlos Esparza in 2019.
Big name, yeah, for sure.
Big name to lose to, nothing wrong with that. I think that she just doesn't have that big X factor. Like, I think Vivian brings in a better like dog into the fight. Mm-hmm. I hate to say something so simple like that, but you know, Alexa Grasso she fights a good pace, but she's a very technical Mexican fighter. She's not a blood and guts fighter like Vivian is. And Alexa, like as we were just talking about, she knows that she will do better in a fight if she focuses on winning the decision.
Yeah.
Where Vivian fights with, I'm gonna fight you to fucking kill you. You know, and that's what I was talking about. I was like, I hope that kind of like Cub shows up using like gamesmanship, and Alexa's kind of been building a quiet career on that.
Yeah,
you know,
gamesmanship and point scoring. And,
yes,
yeah, definitely. I think that in that kind of fight, she has the advantage. But if it's made into a brawl, I think Araujo
wins. And you know what? This will be interesting to see, because if Araujo puts out Alexa in the first two, that's a statement win. However, at the same time, we all know, like, if Alexa can pick Vivian apart, or maybe even get hurt in the first or second, come back and pull out a gutsy win in the third, fourth, or fifth, that's still a statement for her. Because I feel like Alexa's best bet to win this fight
for both ladies.
Oh, interesting. But I feel like Alexa will know how to fight that 5 rounds better than Vivian.
Her style is less
I think that too. Alexa will get hurt earlier in the fight, and then Vivian's going to keep going back to that well. And it's not going to play that well for her into that third or fourth. I could see Grasso coming up with a submission in the fourth. The longer this fight goes on, like,
she does have some submission skills for sure.
She does, and I feel like she's just patient about looking for that. And it's easier to kind of snatch on a submission in MMA when you can capitalize on someone's aggression.
Right.
Like, and I talk like that catch as catch can kind of stuff. Like, you can just snatch and grab fucking submissions when someone's trying to punch you.
We were just
at the same time, when you're punching someone, you can snatch on a submission. It goes both ways.
Me and Lewis were talking about this last night at the gym. Yeah. I was showing him some of the concepts you and I were talking about with, like, baiting people into throwing a knee and then attacking the knee or attacking the base leg because that's all they have.
Oh, like that little tie sweep and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like a sambo sweep. And
I was going to say,
that.
the real one that I was teaching, that I know how to teach, is the sambo version that Islam has used.
Where you see them like almost tying up, like they have the gi on, but they're hip fighting, and then they throw the knee.
It's almost like a body lock with the leg in it. Like it's like a single leg where you're feeding the leg up into their body and really tearing them up. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that is all of the time we have today. Like I said, quick episode. Had a crazy work day, and Trevor's got to go teach a class.
Help Trevor get ready for his pro debut.
Yeah.
Coming up into this month.
Luck Dog had his pro debut for MMA canceled, so he's going to be making his debut boxing on the Global Legion card. I'm trying to get commentary on this card. We're waiting to hear back from Global Legion on that, but I think that that's going to be a very interesting card for us to talk about here on the show, because many friends of the show are on it. Many people that we're familiar with are going to be fighting on it, so maybe we can do a little preview show on that.
Yes.
But next week, guys, we're going to be back talking about Islam versus Oliveira and that insanely stacked card that's going on beneath them. And we're probably going to have at least one, maybe two guests on, undecided, unbooked, but we're going to probably be doing a mega show, like a 2-hour type show on that card next week. So stay tuned for the next episode of the 10-8 Fightcast. And until then, enjoy yourselves and the fights.